You know what almost no one admits out loud? Some of the most vicious aggression in human relationships isn't loud, isn't physical, it doesn't come from men. It comes from women toward other women. And I'm talking about this lately. This aggression is silent. It flies under the radar, but it can destroy your confidence and your friendships and your sense of belonging. I'm talking about the subtle digs, the invisible competition, the ways that women punish each other without ever raising their voice. Have you ever had this happen to you? If you grew up with childhood trauma, this kind of silent aggression will feel especially confusing. You already learned as a kid to scan the room for danger, to pick up on tiny cues about who was safe and who was not safe. And when another woman aims this kind of hostility at you, you do feel it. Even if nobody else sees it, you feel it in your nervous system. You feel it in your stomach. You start questioning yourself and you start wondering if you did something wrong. And that's what makes it so powerful. I want to break this down because if you don't see it clearly, you're going to keep getting blindsided by it. You'll think that you're crazy or that you're too sensitive. Did they tell you that? But once you know what it is, you can recognize it, call it what it is, and make choices that keep you sane. So let's start with the first big truth. Silent aggression is real aggression. Just because someone doesn't yell or throw things doesn't mean they're not trying to harm you. So think about the cold shoulder or the smile that only is the mouth and no eyes, or the little joke that they're like, oh, come on, why can't you take a joke? It's a put down, right? But it's framed as if it's harmless. Think about the friend who ignores your good news but goes all in celebrating somebody else's. Think about the way a group of women can shift their energy to let you know that you're excluded without ever saying a word. That's aggression. It's not an accident, it's a choice. Now, why does this happen so often between women? Part of it is cultural. For centuries, thousands of years, women were taught not to be openly angry. You were supposed to be nice and polite and agreeable. So what happens when a real human being feels envy or rage or competition but isn't allowed to show it? The energy doesn't go away, it just goes underground, and it comes out sideways in the form of gossip and backhanded compliments and exclusion, or those subtle undermining gestures that tell you exactly where you stand. But the other part, and this is especially true if you grew up with trauma, is that silent aggression becomes normalized. If your mom or sisters or friends treated you this way, you might have internalized it. You learned that this is just how women are, and you might even start doing it yourself without realizing it because it feels normal. Because your capacity to connect and feel good within connections has been injured. And if you think harm from your childhood may have injured you in this way, you might want to check out. I have a list of signs that childhood trauma has affected your ability to connect. And if you want to see that and see if you recognize some of these common signs in yourself, you can download that. I'll put a link in the top line of the description section below this video. It's free. So let's name some of the ways that silent aggression shows up. The little things you notice, the things you feel pressured to let slide. If you point them out, you look too sensitive or you look paranoid. But when you see them clearly for what they are, it doesn't matter if you confront the person or tell other people. The most important thing is that you stop doubting yourself. All right, number one is what I call the invisible freeze out. You walk into a group that you thought you belonged to, and suddenly the warmth just leaves the room. No one confronts you. They're just glancing past you. You hear their voices lower, like a conversation stops, and they make you feel like an outsider without ever saying a word. All right, number two, the gentle undercut. You share an idea or a story and another woman jumps in with a correction that doesn't matter, it's some tiny thing, but it shifts the focus from what you were trying to share onto her, and it subtly knocks you down. Number three is they vanish when you win. You share good news and your friend goes flat. No congratulations, no interest, just silence that makes your accomplishment feel invisible. Or like maybe you should be embarrassed for saying anything at all. Right? 4 is what I call concern shaming. That's not a good word. This is where they criticize you, but they frame it as, it's only because I care. I only say this because I'm worried that you're overdoing it, or I just don't want people to think that you're trying too hard. It sounds protective, but underneath it's meant to shrink you. Or there's a variation called reputation seeding, where they damage your reputation with other people, where your friend worries aloud to others, doesn't Anna seem really stressed lately? I'm not sure she's handling things well. So there's nothing hostile on the surface, right? But it plants doubt about you with other people. So number 5 is selective memory. Your friend forgets to mention you when credit is given, and I mean forgets, right? Or she leaves you out of a story where you played a part. It doesn't, and if it happens once, okay, fine. But when it becomes a pattern, which it often will when people are being hostile towards you, it is a pattern of erasing you. And my mom used to do this, and it happened in this job I once had where I had all this expertise that was relevant to a conference. Everybody went to the conference. I had to stay home and do the transcribing and answering the phones. I felt like Cinderella. I was getting everybody else to go to the party, and I didn't speak up and say, hey, I'm the one who belongs at this conference. Somebody wanted to keep me out. Well, I don't participate in that dynamic anymore, and it doesn't happen. Number 6 is the backhanded compliment. Praise that cuts you down as it lands, like, oh, that actually looks good on you, or, you're surprisingly good at that. It's framed as support, but it's really a reminder that we did not expect very much from you. Number 7 is nonverbal jabs. The raised eyebrow, right? The smirk, the exaggerated sigh. Nothing you can pin down, right? Just a look or a gesture that tells you exactly what your friend is thinking, yet she has perfect deniability, right? Number 8 is strategic exclusion. Plans are made, invitations are handed out, but somehow you're the one left off. And later you hear, oh, it was just an oversight. One time is believable, a pattern is not. All right, number 9, the one-up. You share something vulnerable or exciting, and a friend immediately turns the conversation to her bigger and better version of it. It's not open hostility, but it just has a way of flattening your joy. All right, number 10 is the silent vote. Decisions happen when you're not in the room. So your friend doesn't argue against you. She just leaves you off the group text or quietly backs those who want you out of the group. Number 11, and the last one here, is selective storytelling. Your friend repeats something that you said, but trims or twists it just enough to make you look foolish or wrong or cruel or like you don't deserve to be included anymore. She's just bent the truth so that just enough that you can't defend yourself against it. Now, there's a psychological toll from all this. I know because it's been done to me more than once and in different parts of my life. And when this happens once, you can shrug it off. But when it happens over and over, it starts to erode you and it makes you doubt your worth and it keeps you on edge. And if you already struggle with dysregulation, this kind of stress can throw you into overdrive, obsessive thoughts, looping, spirals of self-blame, even physical symptoms. And the most damaging part is the silence, because it's hidden. You can't get clarity. You can't resolve it. That's how it works. You're stuck in a loop of questioning yourself, and that's the perfect environment for trauma triggers to flourish. So here's how to counter silent aggression. All right, you can't stop other people from doing these things. What you can do is stop letting them work on you. The whole power of silent aggression comes from your silence, from you doubting yourself, swallowing it down, letting it slide. So here's what you can do instead. Trust what you notice. If you feel that sting in your gut, that subtle shift in energy, don't gaslight yourself. You don't have to prove it to anyone. You just have to trust that you did feel it. Then stop trying to win them over. When you feel excluded or cut down, the trauma reflex is to try harder, to please, to smooth it over, to earn back their approval. But that just keeps you trapped. You don't owe that to anyone. Also, don't explain yourself. Silent aggression baits you into defending yourself because if you explain, you look guilty. Refuse the bait. Hold your ground with silence or by calmly moving on. Another thing you can do is stand up, but without a fight. If you choose to respond, keep it short, keep it neutral. For example, to a backhanded compliment, you can say, well, that's an interesting way to put it, and then stop talking. Or to concern shaming, you can say, well, thanks for your concern. I've got it handled. And then that's it, period. You're not arguing, you're not defending, you're showing that you will not be diminished. You can also name it lightly when you need to. Sometimes just putting words to the behavior takes away its power. If someone leaves you out, you can say, oh, I must have missed the invitation. And if someone forgets your contribution, say, right, I was part of that too. Just with a calm tone, no drama, but you have marked the truth. You can decide who's in your circle. You don't need everyone to like you. The people who thrive on silent aggression are not your people and not good to have in your life anyway. So step back, make space, and invest in relationships where respect is the baseline. I recommend that you refuse to give it back to anybody, by the way, the hostility. The fastest way to break the cycle is to stop playing the same game. Notice when you're tempted to undercut or exclude or concern shame another person. Call yourself out and choose honesty and respect instead. The truth is, silent aggression between women thrives on secrecy. No one talks about it, so everyone feels alone when it's happening to them. But every woman I know has experienced it at some point. The difference is whether you let it define your relationships or whether you learn to spot it, name it, and walk away from it. It gets so much easier when your trauma is healing. Letting people who hurt you like this into your life is a trauma symptom. And I want you to know what it feels like when you no longer do that. It's one of the signs of healing. And in fact, I'll share with you my favorite download where I've listed more than a dozen signs that your trauma is healing. These are so good to hold in your mind. Some of them you will have already achieved, and some of them you can kind of put on your vision board that you're working towards it. So this is going to point you in a very good direction and on so many levels of your life. I'll put a link to that free download in the second line of the description section below this video. So if you've been blindsided by someone's aggression, stop blaming yourself. Stop twisting yourself into knots trying to figure out what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just dealing with someone who couldn't be direct about their hostility, so they found a silent way to express it. And if you've ever been the one who did it, forgive yourself, but also stop doing it. It doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't get you vengeance. It doesn't make you safe. It just makes you small. The real power is in honesty, generosity, and having the courage to say what you feel, without intentionally hurting people, and especially not hurting people who are sort of in the margins and in the shadows. This is the work of growing beyond childhood trauma. Healing brings clarity. It helps you see what's really happening. You begin refusing to normalize toxic patterns. You choose relationships that lift you up instead of tearing you down. Silent aggression, it's common, but it's not inevitable, not for you. And once you see it, you don't have to live under it anymore. The real choice that we all have is this. We can compete and tear each other down, or we can build real friendship and respect. Competition and aggression might feel powerful in the moment, but they always leave you feeling gross. They leave you feeling smaller and lonelier and suspicious of other people. Friendship and respect don't erase envy or conflict, but they give us a way to deal with them, those feelings honestly, without cruelty, without secrecy, without punishment. That's the choice that changes everything. Not pretending that aggression isn't there or in here, but refusing to live by it. And when you make that choice, you stop being trapped in silent hostility, which frees up that light in you so that it can shine brighter and carry you toward the happy, steady, connected life that you deserve. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. Researchers understood these effects to be mostly psychological or learned from dysfunctional parents. And while that's partly true, we now know the primary injury is also, sometimes mostly, neurological.